Hello. Welcome to the Green View Talk podcast. I'm Antonio Fernando Pinheiro Pedro, and today we will discuss a topic that will show you the bare, harsh, and extremely serious reality of our continent. South America is not just in crisis. It is under a quadruple attack that directly threatens your life and your future. We are talking about organized crime, destructive ideology, chronic social inequality, and stifling bureaucracy. In the next few minutes, based on intelligence data, we will reveal how these factors intertwine and push our rule of law to the brink of collapse. This is not passive reading. It is an urgent alert. The orange alert has sounded. Organized crime and the capture of the state. South America is going through a delicate moment, marked by political, social, and economic challenges that intertwine and directly affect the lives of citizens, demanding an analysis of the risks threatening the region's stability. Two clear risk aspects emerge: the criminological phenomenon and social disparity. The first and most virulent vector is the criminological phenomenon, where organized crime is no longer a simple police problem, but a political and economic actor on a transnational scale. We observe that, in terms of impact on governability, organized crime leads with 85%, closely followed by corruption 80%. Not by chance, political polarization 75% and institutional erosion 70%. Merely pave the way for the advance of these networks. Brazilian factions like the PCC and Comando Vermelho have expanded their borders, joining ex-guerrillas in Colombia and interacting with state criminal structures such as those linked to the Venezuelan narcoterrorist regime. Crime now dominates international routes for drugs, weapons, and even people, infiltrating the structures that should be fighting it. Structural corruption, present throughout most of the region, facilitates the operation of these networks. And countries like Colombia, Brazil, and Paraguay are classified with a very high 5 risk on the organized crime indicator, according to our risk map. Venezuela, in turn, operates as a dictatorial state captured by criminal networks, while Peru and Bolivia face critical vulnerabilities at their borders. The threat is exacerbated by the contamination of the establishment, where illicit capital and corrupt practices infiltrate electoral campaigns, political parties, and strategic sectors, creating the dangerous phenomenon of hybrid governance, in which organized crime replaces the state in peripheral areas. The direct cost of this scenario is devastating. Crime and corruption drain the equivalent of 3.4% of Latin America's GDP, a figure that is 12 times greater than spending on research and development, halting growth, reducing investment, and increasing informality. The burden of bureaucracy, ideology, and the structural crisis. This fragility is deeply aggravated by political ideological dynamics and structural risks. The alignment of South American governments with the left has reinforced populist policies, often at the expense of meritocratic incentives, creating an environment of leniency and favoring clientelism. The logic of social justice has been instrumentalized to relativize ethical standards, resulting in profound impunity and an amorality that has become the scar of disaggregating activism, present in sectors of the press, universities, and in judicial activism itself. Populist and interventionist models, in turn, stifle free enterprise and reduce competitiveness. Added to this is the structural risk of concentration of wealth and income, which keeps the region among the most unequal on the planet, feeding instability and social crises. Another risk factor is the cost of state bureaucracy, which, through excessive regulatory complexity, stifles competitiveness. Particularly serious is the burden of the judiciary in countries like Brazil, where the justice system consumes about 1.3% of the GDP, generating legal insecurity and discouraging long-term investments. In summary, structural inequality and onerous bureaucracy form a vicious cycle that drains resources and compromises the region's capacity for sustainable growth. Brazil at the epicenter, judicialization and geopolitical pressure. In the Brazilian scenario, the institutional crisis is acute, with the state suffering from institutions permanently co-opted by activist tendencies, which has led to the exponential judicialization of national life. The analysis of influence on political stability shows that the National Congress, 35%, and the judiciary, 30%, exert the greatest influence, while the executive, 25%, loses prominence, resulting in a fragile governability. The government is hostage to unstable alliances, and the judiciary takes the lead in resolving crises, generating conflicts and legal insecurity. Organized crime infiltrates public and private sectors, funding campaigns and moving the country closer to a narco-state. Externally, the Brazilian government has moved the country to an anti-Western position, aligned with the so-called axis of evil, which generates friction with the USA. In the face of backtracking on considering criminal factions as terrorists and the revocation of visas for Brazilian authorities, the country is on a collision course with the American Regional Security Doctrine, which seeks to contain narcoterrorism. The American military presence, reinforced by the deployment of aircraft carriers to the Caribbean, increases regional tension and the risk of external intervention, especially in countries like Venezuela, where the socialist dictatorship is a geostrategic conflict point. The continent is divided, with ideological polarization making consensus on security and the rule of law difficult, while the foreign military presence stimulates an arms race in the region. The path to stability, the call for a conservative reaction. After years of unheeded warnings, and with the amplified political and social risk scenario, the path to reversing the disaster requires a strong conservative reaction in the region, based on the need to rescue the rule of law. This demands transparency and integrity in decision-making processes, the strengthening of freedom of expression and popular sovereignty, and the promotion of deep institutional reforms, which include harsher penalties, the effective operation of the prison system, and the reorganization of the judiciary structure to remove institutional activism. It is essential to mobilize civil society, reformat the media, to shield the economy from ideological and criminal influence, and prioritize merit and moral values. In conclusion, South America is facing a scenario of increasing risks to the rule of law, aggravated by crime, corruption, and political polarization, with Brazil at the center of geopolitical tension and internal instability. Confronting this scenario requires determination, courage, and above all, deep and well-planned structural reforms. Either this or disaster. What is your opinion? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive more content like this. Leave your comment and share this video so that more people wake up to the reality of the risk in South America. See you in our next video.